Most people don't build wealth because they have bad money habits. And today we're going to be talking about the 11 money habits that could be keeping you poor. One of the most important things that you can do as you learn how to build wealth is to maximize the habits that you have every single day. In fact, there is a book called Rich Habits by Tom Corley, and he goes through some of the habits that wealthy people have. And it turns out that most wealthy people do the same exact things. They read nonfiction books daily. They learn how to exercise. They learn how to invest their money. And there's so many different things that you can learn from rich people and the habits that they create. And today we're going to talk about some of the habits that will actually keep you broke. And rich people know how to avoid some of these habits as they learn how to build wealth. The first one is overspending. Now, I want you to actually spend your money. In fact, I'm one of the only personal finance people who will tell you to spend your money, but I want you to spend money on things that bring you value, not just any frivolous thing that you don't think twice about, because that is what money is there to do. It's there so you can allocate your dollars and buy the things that bring you value. Heck, I spend money all the time, but I spend those dollars on the things that I value, and most people just struggle with this concept. So here's a couple of things that you can do. Number one is to have a budget in place. You've heard me talk about this on this channel all the time. A budget is the most important thing that you can be doing to make sure that you are on top of your money. I know you don't want a budget, but looking forward with a budget is one of the most powerful things that you could do. I don't want you looking backward with a budget. I want you to take the dollars that you already have and figure out how you want to spend those dollars going forward. Number two is this allows you to practice mindful spending, meaning you're spending your dollars on the things that you want. You're thinking through this and making sure, is this a purchase I want to make? One way to think about this is, how many hours would I have to work at my day job to afford this thing? And is it worth working that many hours so that you can buy this specific item? Say, for example, you want to buy a new tablet for $500. Well, how many hours would that cost you to actually buy that tablet? Because if it costs you 20 to 40 hours, is that worth your time to be working those hours? Because time is so incredibly valuable. Now, a life hack when it comes to overspending is learning the 24-hour rule. So the 24-hour rule is one rule that I love to use when I think about overspending, because if there is some big purchase that I want to make, anything above $100, I always do this, where I think about this for at least 24 hours to have that cooling off period. And if it's anything above $200, I wait 7 days before I make that purchase, because that allows me to think through this and make sure, do I actually really want this item? If I still want it after 7 days, can't stop thinking about it, can't stop looking up reviews on that specific item, more power to me. I'm going to buy it all day long. And another thing I want you to think about is when it comes to overspending is how you spend your dollars. You should have spending rules in place. An example of this would be, I have a spending rule that no matter what, if there's a book that interests me and I think I'm going to learn from it, I'll spend money on a book all day long if I'm going to get one thing out of it that I think will be valuable. In addition, I spend as much money as I want on health-related matters because I want to make sure my body is as healthy as it possibly can be. So create spending rules like this where you have restrictions and things that you want to spend lavishly on that really matter to you. Now, one other hack that I want to give you when it comes to overspending is from the book Just Keep Buying by Nick Majuli. And he has this rule: every time he spends on discretionary spending, he invests the same amount of money. So say, for example, with that iPad, you buy a $500 tablet. Well, at the same time, if you buy that $500 tablet, then you have to go invest $500 as well. This takes the guilt out of it because you're still building wealth and you can spend that money on that discretionary spending. Number two is lack of budgeting or lack of planning. So we spent some time on budgeting on the first one. I want to dive a little deeper into this because it's so incredibly important. If you do not have a budget in place, you will not be able to build real wealth, because people who build real wealth have to get their dollars into something that's going to allow those dollars to grow. Now, you could do something like the reverse budget, which is the way for people who hate budgets. You can still budget your money by allocating your dollars and consciously thinking about where you want those dollars to go. Here's exactly how it works. What you do is every single time you get paid, you take your savings rate off the top. So say, for example, you want to save 20% of your income, you take that off the top and then you spend whatever is left over. This allows you to budget your money without having to go line by line every single day and trying to figure out, how much do I want to spend on food? How much do I want to allocate towards this category? Instead, you have 80% of your income available there, and you're going to spend that amount based on what your needs, wants, and desires are. Now, there's also a line by line item budget, which is what I do, zero-based budgeting, meaning you're looking forward and you're saying, what do I want my dollars to do in the near future? This is a more optimized way to budget, but if you don't want to waste your time doing that, just go with the reverse budget. Now, there are some life hacks when it goes to budgeting. The first one, like we just talked about, is the reverse budget. Another one is to use some automated budgeting systems. I use a tool called YNAB, which we used to have to go in there and manually add every single thing, but now YNAB automates everything and puts it in the specific categories categories for you, and you just have to check through each category and make sure it's in the right location. This is a way to save you so much time. In fact, every single day I do my budget. It takes me 2 minutes every single day. I go into YNAB and I just make sure everything looks okay, and then I'm done for the day. And by doing this, you stay on top of your money, and so no surprises show up when you budget this way. Number 3 is impulse spending. So impulse spending is a major thing that is happening right now. In fact, there are some articles coming out where 78% of people actually buy the majority of their discretionary items when they impulse spend. This is a massive, massive thing that you want to make sure that you're just consciously thinking about. So here's a couple of hacks that I want to give you to reduce your impulse spending. Number 1 is to create wish lists, meaning lists of things that you truly, truly want. And on that wish list, I want you to prioritize them from the things that you want the most to the things that you want the least. And as you see things that you want, you're going to put it on the list and allocate it in some specific order. What this is going to allow you to do is when you have a specific chunk of income that you're going to allow to blow on whatever you want, for example, then you could take those dollars and start buying the things that you want in the exact order that you want them. And organizing it in this way makes sure that you don't just see something and buy it immediately. Say for example, I used to have this problem all the time, especially with Amazon and all these new ways where you can just buy things with one click. You have to consciously think about this stuff if you're going to spend your money. I want you to buy the things that you want. I want you to ball out on all the things you want, make it rain on the stuff that you love. But at the same time, I want to make sure that you're consciously spending your money so that you don't overspend. Making those lists is going to stop you from those impulse buys. In addition, like we talked about with overspending, having those cooling off periods, if it's a big purchase, maybe waiting 24 hours to 7 days to make sure that you truly want that item is really going to help you ensure that you really do want that item. Number 4 is ignoring your debts. Debt is one of the things that will rob you of your wealth building ability, specifically when it comes to high interest debt. So here at Master Money in the Personal Finance Podcast, we classify high interest debt as anything above a 6% interest rate. So this can be anything from student loans. Maybe you have a really high interest mortgage. But for most people, this is credit card debt. And credit card debt is a pandemic in the United States right now where a lot of people are carrying credit card debt. And there's a number of factors that come into play. But what you want to do is you need to focus on that credit card debt and getting rid of that credit card debt, because this will rob you of your wealth building ability. You will not be able to maintain a cash balance. And in addition, it's going to take away all of your opportunities. Credit card debt is compound interest working against you instead of for you. So getting rid of it as fast as possible is what I want you to do. Now, should you forego everything, including investing and everything else to get rid of credit card debt? I believe that you should, because it is high interest debt. You can never get investment returns as high as credit card debt. In addition, the only returns that you should go for before you're paying off that credit card debt is your 401k match, because that is a 100% rate of return on your money. But even if you don't want to contribute to that because you want to get rid of that debt because it's causing stress and anxiety in your life, more power to you. You need to be doing things that are going to reduce your stress and reduce your anxiety when it comes to money. But making sure you get rid of that debt as fast as possible is one of the number 1 things you need to be doing when it comes to personal finance, especially if those interest rates are really high. Number 5 is not saving or investing. Now, let me say this to everybody who's watching this video. You will never be able to have financial freedom or retire if you do not invest your money. This is the most important concept that you can learn as early as you possibly can. Now, if you're watching this video and you're hearing this for the first time, what the heck do you invest in? There's a number of ways that you can invest your money. My favorite way is index funds and ETFs. We have a course talking about how to invest in index funds and ETFs. But in addition, you can invest in real estate. You can buy businesses. There's so many different ways to invest your money, but making sure that you're getting your money working for you is one of the most powerful things that you can do. This hedges against inflation, because if you keep your money in cash, inflation is eating away at the buying power of that money every single year. So you have to invest those dollars so that you can build wealth, with the exception of things like your emergency fund. You want to make sure you keep that emergency fund in cash in something like a high yield savings account. But with every extra dollar, I want you to be investing those dollars so that you can build wealth and get your freedom back. Number 6 is living beyond your means. So for all of us, our expenses are going to rise over time. This is something called lifestyle creep, and this is a very normal thing that happens in every single person's life. For example, if you get married, your expenses are going to rise. If you have kids, your expenses are going to rise. This is a very natural thing. But making sure that you are conscious about how your expenses rise, it is very normal for people who want to stay middle class to buy the brand new fancy car and have $1,000 car. This is not okay if you want to build wealth and become free in the next 10 years, and you cannot afford that car payment. So making sure that you do not allow that lifestyle to creep up too high, it's going to creep up, but making sure it doesn't creep up too high is the most important thing that you can do with your money, especially as you start to get your first real job and you start to make more and more money over time. When you make more and more money over time, take a portion of that and invest that portion and then spend the rest on whatever else you want. I want you to increase your spending. I want you to enjoy life more, but just making sure you take a portion of it for your future self is what you definitely want to be doing in order to build wealth. 20% or more savings rate is what we recommend here so that you can increase that over time and build that generational wealth. Number 7 is not seeking financial education. So I cannot tell you how powerful it is to have a financial education. And if you're just getting started and you're watching this video, that is absolutely amazing. You're getting a financial education by watching this video. If you listen to podcasts like ours, the Personal Finance Podcast, you are getting a financial education. If you're reading personal finance books or business books or money books, you are getting a financial education. These are some of the best ways to grow your knowledge over time when it comes to money, business, and building wealth. You have to have the core competencies of a financial education in order to be able to build wealth. And there's a number of things that this helps with. A, it reduces your stress and anxiety about money. You're not fearful about money anymore because you understand how it works. B, you could take advantage of opportunities, meaning if an opportunity arises, you can recognize that opportunity and be able to take advantage of that opportunity so that you can make more money. And C, you can pass down this information to future generations and they'll be able to build wealth as well so that you can have generational wealth passed on in the future. So making sure that you prioritize financial education in a number of ways. I do this through books, I do it through podcasts, I do it through YouTube videos. All of these are amazing ways to further your financial education. You can also do courses, coaching, a bunch of other things that are also available. Number 8 is neglecting your financial goals. If you don't have a financial goal in place, then you are set up to fail. You have to have your goals in place and know what you are pursuing. So number 1, you want to know exactly what your why is. Why are you pursuing financial independence? Is it for freedom with your time? Do you have a job that you hate and you don't want to work there anymore so that you want to build up enough wealth so you don't have to work anymore? What is your why? Knowing that why is going to be one of the most important things that you can do. Then going forward, having the goal in place and knowing what your freedom number is going to change everything for you when it comes to building wealth. If you don't know what your freedom number is, let me show you how to calculate it right now really quickly. So what you want to do is take your yearly spending and multiply that number by 25. So in retirement, if you want to spend $80,000 per year, you multiply that number by 25, you need $2 million. And once you have $2 million invested, you can retire. What is this based on? The 4% rule, where you can draw down 4% of your portfolio every single year and still preserve that wealth over time. So knowing your why and knowing what your goals are and keeping your eye on the ball is going to be one of the most powerful things that you can do. If you don't have a goal in place, you need to have that goal in place to make sure that you're on track to be able to retire. Number 9 is fear of taking financial risks. No matter what you do, anytime you invest your money, there is risk involved. And you have to make sure that you are okay with those risks and willing to take those financial risks so that you can grow your wealth over time. Now, if you're someone who is scared of taking risks, you're scared of investing in the market, then one thing that you can do is increase your financial education like we talked about before, because the more you know about investing and the more you know about how money works, the more likely you are to reduce your stress and anxiety when it comes to some of these risks. Because you understand, take the stock market, for example. Over the long term, if you have a financial education, you understand that the market is going to go up and the market is going to go down. This is a very normal occurrence over time. And so when the market goes down, you're not going to stress and you're not going to panic. Instead, you're going to understand historically, this is a very normal event. And this is just part of taking the risk of investing your dollars in the market. But historically, over time, the market goes in one direction, which is up. For example, if you invest in the S&P 500 and you stay invested in the S&P 500 over the course of 20 plus years, historically, you have made money 100% of the time if you stay invested for 20 years or longer. So long-term investing always wins. And you would only know that if you had that financial education, which reduces your stress and anxiety surrounding risks. And if you're also worried about investing, you can start investing a small amount of money and then increasing that amount over time as you get more comfortable investing. This is going to allow you to put your feet in the water and then get the ball rolling as time goes on. And the rest of the money that you want to allocate towards investing, you just set it aside in cash until you're ready to invest those dollars. Number 10 is not understanding taxes. Taxes are one of the most important things when it comes to building wealth because you can reduce the amount of money that you're paying to Uncle Sam and the government. Now, this is not to say that you should not pay your taxes. You absolutely should pay your taxes. And in fact, it's a blessing if you have to pay more taxes. Why? Because that means you're making more money. This is a good problem to have. But understanding how to get around taxes is another amazing way that you can build wealth. There's a number of different ways when it comes to investing, for example. Your Roth IRAs, your 401ks, your 403bs. When it comes to real estate investing, you get so many different tax breaks. So understanding some of these things and understanding some concepts on how to reduce your tax bill every single year is one of the most powerful things that you can do. The higher your income is, the more you need to understand how taxes work. Because if you understand how much taxes work, then you can reduce that tax liability and save yourself tens of thousands of dollars. Now, a number of ways that you can do this. Number one, have a really good accountant. Your accountant is everything when it comes to building wealth. Having a really good accountant and tax strategist is a very powerful tool. Number two is stay updated on some of the new tax laws and tax rules that come into play. And number three, keep really organized records so that you know exactly where all your tax stuff is so that you can look back and refer to it and understand what's going on. This is going to help you in the future understand taxes and stay educated on this stuff. Make sure you listen to podcasts and videos that talk about it in an entertaining way to you. And then number 11 is when you reduce your expenses, not focusing on the big three. So if you're not familiar with the big three expenses, we talk about them a lot on this channel. This is housing, it's food, and transportation. If you can control these three expenses and reduce these three expenses to a certain level, you can spend lavishly on everything else because most people are broke because they spend too much money on those three expenses. So think about your housing costs, think about your transportation costs, think about your food costs, eating out and groceries, and make sure you control those three expenses and you can spend so much more on everything else. Listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a ton. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'm trying to answer every single comment down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. We will see you on the next video.